Bring a Trailer podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bring a Trailer podcast. Happy 2025. Alex Porter coming to you from the Bring a Trailer headquarters upstairs. Apologies ahead of time if you hear any roofing noises. We're getting the office re-roofed. Thrilled to be joined in the studio by Howard Swig. Howard, when was the last time we did one of these in person?
So much better to be back. We did one where you guys were all in the office here. I was dialing in from New York. Does not work as well when one is remote. Didn't love that, but delighted to be back with you guys on site.
Very good to have you here. Also joined by Randy, who does these with me in this room all the time. But it's been since last year since we did one.
And we were in SoCal interviewing several people. Those podcasts are now out. If people heard the Magnus podcast and the Bruce Meyer podcast, two of my favorites to finish off last year.
Very strong.
Hopefully people listen to them. If you haven't listened to them, go back and check them out. They were great.
Yeah, Bruce and Magnus were fantastic. And it was a great year. We want to talk today about 2024 in review. I want to hear what you guys have been up to. But I thought I'd start right up here at the top by teasing a couple of our upcoming events, which we're very excited about. The three of us will be together again in, only about 2 weeks in Arizona for Arizona Auction Week. We've never done an event there before, Howard.
We actually
That's a lie.
Yeah.
That's a lie. I'm jumping in there.
Randy,
Were you going to correct? Were you going to correct?
No, you got it.
I was there moving tents around and stuff, dude. Come on. We've never done an event there.
At Auction Week? I know we did one in conjunction with the Copper State.
Oh, so we've done two there.
But we did one in conjunction with Auction Week.
I've got you on your heels.
Have my heels.
Yeah, we did one at a car storage facility. What was it called? The Stables. I don't know. We haven't talked to them in a long time. This is pre-COVID. This is a million years ago.
Okay.
2017, 2018. 4till4 was there and served coffee. I met No Brakes there, I think. Who else did I meet there? Some other folks.
The Bentley guy, yeah.
Oh, Bentley. Is it Bentley guy?
He's probably not listening to this.
And Sludgo showed up at that one. Sludgo will be at this one.
This one. I'm aware
anyway,
of that.
I dove in there to correct you rudely.
No, that's great.
But we ought to definitely promo the fact that we're going to be in Arizona. It's a Saturday morning. It's at Auto
25th
on the 25th of Jan. And it starts way bright and early. Earliest BAT event of all time, 7 a.m. start, which is insane.
That was an Auto decision.
We're piggybacking with them. They're a local partner, one of two, at least, local partners in the Phoenix area. Have a great facility in Scottsdale that most people know about. They throw an event, and we're joining in to do a BAT-style event as well. So anyway, I will be there. I'm stoked. Both of you guys are going to be there too.
Correct. They have a really sick facility. Have you been before, Howard, to the storage facility, Autos?
I have not. The last event we did there was Jan 19, so it's been a full 6 years ago.
Amazing.
I think. So I'm pumped to be back.
What was the scale of that one?
6 years ago.
Was it hundreds of cars?
No. I bet knocking on 100 cars showed up. I bet 70 cars showed up.
We've already got.
I bet 65 cars showed up.
Want to come to this, and many hundred want to come. It's going to be a big one.
2019, which we thought was such a banner year at BAT. Remember when we put a bow on 2019 there? Nobody had ever heard of COVID before.
Yep.
And we finished 2019. We're like, that was a crazy year. And now you look back and you're like, wow, we had like 30 cars on the site.
Yeah, totally.
I was thinking about that for year in review. Yeah, I mean, for me, 2016 to 2019 was just one big block of time. The only goals were do more and be better. That's pretty much it.
And stay up all night drinking Red Bull, like getting cars on the site.
Correct.
You remember that?
Didn't matter what month it was. There were no seasons, no months. It was just grow
full
and
pedal to the metal. Not that
shovel.
It's not entirely that way.
It was totally shovel. Just keep shoveling.
It was shoveling where the hole was not getting deeper. Like we were
broader.
The metaphor is falling apart from me here, but yeah, it was a Sisyphean task. You couldn't get the ball up to the top of the
But
hill.
to Randy's point, at the end of 19, I feel was for me the first time we all kind of collectively looked back and said, okay, like look back down the mountain and said, wow, look how far we've come.
Totally.
And then that seems like ages ago, which it was.
I also realize I've lied even more because we had an event in Arizona last year at Matt Crandall's facility. At
There's three. Yeah. And maybe the state we've done the most events in.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I thought we hadn't done one at Auction Week.
Yeah, we did the one at Auction Week. The other two were off of Auction Week. Yeah. But Auction Week's an interesting thing, right? Like different auctions have come and gone.
I've never been. You guys tell me what it's like. I don't even know what to expect. I was in Arizona, which we can talk about recently, dropping off a car. I met Howard on that trip out in the desert. And Matt Crandall, 911R partner, was saying that huge number of people show up for auction week in Arizona.
Absolutely. And a lot of these cars and coffees they spin off. Some of them, they do them just that week. Some of them they do like year round, right? With their weather, which is enviable for so many other parts of the country. But auction week's fun. I mean, if you like going to tent auctions, Howard and I have always had sort of a love-hate with tent auctions, right? We go and we see it. And honestly, tent auctions are what made us create BAT as an alternative, right? Because some of it's like fun and you're there, and then some of it is just infuriating and you're like, this is so backwards. Why can't something be done differently? So we kind of tip our cap to them a little bit for giving us all the ideas, but regardless, it's a fun time down there. There's a lot of car people. Yeah. Arizona's just great. I mean, January. Where else are you going to go to do car stuff in January?
Baby. I'm excited just to be down there.
And yeah, there's a lot of specialists. There's other dealers. Yeah, all these BAT partners have sprung up down there.
Yep.
I think it's a pretty good time.
They're bringing back the Concours. So historically, that was like a full week, kind of like a mini Monterey, and a real captive audience to come to auctions and Concours and all this other ancillary stuff going on. So the locals down there are trying to bring back the kind of grandeur of the week. And I think this year will be kind of a coming out party for what it can be.
I'm really excited.
No Russo and Steel this year.
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Auction in the round. No longer.
No. There's some new players. There's some old. I used to drive out to the desert to, what was it called? Talking Stick.
Yes.
There's like
walking or talking.
There was both was had. Both were had. It was, I forget, was Silver Auction out there? Which one was out there? You'd go out there and it was like, it was not like the marquee. It was like the opening act, like the opening band, where you're like, do we want to get there late or do we want to actually see the opening act?
Plenty of parking there.
There was a lot of parking, but it was fun. I mean, it was an all. I mean, I was into shopping for $7,500 cars. I actually thought it was pretty cool, right? You hang out at Barrett, which is its own fun time, but like the seventh $200,000 '69 Camaro to go off in a row, you're kind of like, well, is this really a target rich environment? Maybe not. So you cruise out and you see the Willys wagon with the like running on 7 cylinders, engine swaps, and you're like, these are my people.
Totally.
So anyway, there's a lot of variety down there. So, and 4till4, we're also close with those guys. They have events through the week. There's going to be like people meetups and cars and cool stuff.
There's a lot going on during the week, to your point, Howard.
And if you want a place that's the exact opposite of Phoenix, you can tease our other event we're going to be at.
Sure. 1 or maybe even less than 2 weeks later, 10 days later, we will be, the three of us, along with Zach, shout out, we'll be in Paris. My first international trip with you gentlemen for Rétromobile. Very different scene, Randy, eh?
That will be fantastic. I've wanted to take you guys out there for a long time and get to walk the halls and hang out, and not only the city, but the auctions out there are fun. The expo sort of display they do at Rétromobile is something that is not done in the US at all because, I don't know if it's the weather or the culture or just the history of auto shows and how they've done that, but you're hanging out in like the exposition center and all these classic cars are there and dealers and vendors. And
is everything for sale or is it partly a show
solid. Too? Pretty much everything is for sale. There's some vendors that are there that'll like put a car in their booth that's not for sale if they're selling wheels or something.
Sure, it's a display car.
Or they're selling like detail product or whatever. There's some cool stuff that shows up in those that is not for sale. But the vast, vast majority of vehicles on the ground are for sale. And the way the seasonality and the weather over there works, like winter is usually real quiet. Yeah. So stuff kind of hides out and then like shows up at Rétromobile. It's like the first thing of the year. And
some fresh metal.
There's some, fresh also iron. Dealers over there hold cars for like 3 years before they sell them. So it might be fresh or it may have been there.
We did a winter refurbishment on this one.
Totally. It's like the second, it's the first Cobra that Bruce was talking about. It's like, oh, now we painted it a different color to bring it back to Rétromobile.
It's being reoffered.
To sell it again.
Totally. Yeah. It didn't sell, put it away for a year, then raise the price by 50% and reoffer
and bring it back. Totally. Yeah, totally.
You do that. They do that on Redfin. That's like, this house just popped up, but actually it was delisted a week ago after sitting for 100 days.
Totally.
Yeah, totally.
So anyway, but the event, I mean, it's all cars if you're over here hanging out in the US, you haven't seen, and a lot of vendors you haven't seen, and a lot of them do bring fresh stuff, which is pretty fun. So Arizona plus France. That's kind of a weird whiplash.
It's exciting. It's really exciting. And I think Howard was a little jealous of the fun we had at Galpin. So he and I are going to cruise around Arizona and meet up with a couple of our sellers while we're there. We're excited about that.
Yes, I can't wait to swoop you from the airport. We're going to get right into it.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. To your point, Randy, lots of folks that we want to connect with in the Phoenix area. And of course, we're going to try to connect with some folks in France as well.
Absolutely. Anybody who's going to be at either of those events, reach out to us. Let us know what's going on and where to be.
We're going to be hanging out at a booth. What's the plan? Where should they find us at Rétromobile?
At Rétromobile, we're going to be roaming. We've got some European local partners that are going to be there who we're spending time with. But yeah, roaming the show. There's a sort of preview night that we'll be at. People are having dinners, different evenings. There's cool other places to go in the city. So yeah, we'll be visible and available.
Very excited for both things, gents. So I'd like to dive into 2024. But before I do that, I teased a little bit. Howard and I were out in Las Vegas with a couple colleagues. I was dropping my car off in Arizona, my silver NSX with Matt Crandall. That'll be live on BAT soon.
When? What does Crandall say when you show up and drop keys at his door?
Great.
He says 6 weeks, or he says 4 days. It's on the site.
He had cars. I don't think I'm blowing up his spot, spewing out of his facility. Like, not
he's a busy cat.
He's like, I need this car. I was like, take your time. That was a loud one, invading Greenland. So he had cars spilling out of his facility. And so I said, take your time, Matt, no problem. And he's like, no, we need to go fast.
Yeah, we don't want it here long. We don't take our time.
We don't want things to sit here.
Yeah.
So that was really fun. Shout out to our buddy Mike the dentist, who we hung out with in Vegas, who's a podcast listener, and we'll probably hear this one. He gave some great feedback, did a imitation of my introduction, which was very funny. Hung out with our colleagues Mike and Robbie, which was awesome. Zach was there. So that was a really good trip and fun. And in a future podcast episode, I'd like to talk to Zach about our drive out there, which was fun. 2 NSXs. Howard drove out in a 4-cylinder rental Mustang.
Yes, I was in Palm Springs the week before, and I got upgraded or downgraded, not sure, to a 4-cylinder Mustang convertible. So that took the back roads from Palm Springs to Vegas, which was a nice little desert run.
Good roads. Future collectible, the 4-cylinder Mustang?
It was pretty fast for what it is. I didn't love it, but I'm not a huge new Mustang guy.
All things are collectible, Alex.
Yeah.
We'll see where that goes.
Totally. That was mean-spirited. I apologize. Randy, anything interesting car-related over the winter for you? You mentioned your son was driving?
Yeah, I'm the opposite of you guys. You guys go to like warm weather destinations. We headed to the mountains in the snow, and I taught my 14-year-old kid how to do donuts in an 81 Toyota SR5 with a 5-speed. Thought it might roll a couple of times because, you go do it in like a snowy parking lot, but there's a couple concrete patches.
Yes.
And so you get it kind of swinging it and this is really fun on the snow. And then it like catches on the concrete.
Ooh, they call that catching an edge.
Yeah, it'll get you. And I was like, could we put this thing over? I was like, I hope not. But no, I was probably just being paranoid. But it was, so it was crazy swinging that truck around and having fun. My dad,
was Ray loving it?
He loves it. Yeah, he loves it. He's like, hey, let's go drive the truck,
Totally.
I think he might have referred to the truck as a junker pickup at one point, which it kind of is. Howard nods. Howard agrees. That's what. So Ray and Howard like kind of see eye to eye on like car selection. I'm like, this is the perfect mountain vehicle, But no, it was terrific. We had a totally fun time, and he's getting used to the stick shift, and we'll be driving in another year.
Awesome. That's fantastic. How's Palm Springs, Howard? Do you like it? I love Palm Springs.
I love it as well.
Yeah. It's my favorite. Randy did a little skiing as well. Is that right?
Yeah, winter time in Idaho, man. It was fantastic. It was interesting though, because I pull out an old truck to drive up there. Everybody's driving new stuff.
Lots of the new
people
Rovers.
in the summer there pull out all sorts of killer old stuff to drive around. But I was like, am I like irresponsible driving around? I mean, sure, this thing's going to, I don't know, rust or salt or whatever, but you got to drive old stuff. There's a couple Grand Wagoneers driving around with ski racks and stuff on them. Those are pretty classic.
Christmas
One
wreath
old
on the
Scout,
grill.
total wreath on grill spec. But thankfully, everybody's not driving a Grenadier. It seems like that's what I mean.
You saw some Grenadiers, though.
Of course, we saw Grenadiers.
Ineos, well represented.
Totally. So, I mean, a lot of just modern Suburbans and Expeditions and stuff. But, man, I think it's cool to have an old
Ineos
crazy.
Is like our first dealership we're going to open is in Idaho.
Totally. They could have. They probably could. Seattle, Idaho, who knows? But yeah. I was thinking of what a cool snow car to drive around up there would be. I think I had to shovel out the back of a pickup bed. That was a low point of the trip. I was like, this ought to be a 4Runner instead. I wouldn't have to do this. But I thought like a Beetle, like having like a 66 Beetle up there to drive around in the snow, I thought would be kind of neat. So anyway, I'm thinking of what other cars to bang into other cars in the snow would be. Classics. And I don't know. There's some fun ones.
Fantastic. Well, boys, should we talk about 2024? We're past it. It was a big year for BAT. There's some high level numbers, but before we do that, I thought it might be nice for us to just almost take a breath and reflect on it. It felt like we were joking before we started that, that it used to feel like the pedal was always down, but it feels like that way to me to some extent in 2024 because we jammed, man. We did a tremendous number of auctions.
And the flip side of that is people are bidding on cars like crazy.
Yes.
Still.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
Like even when people are like, oh, election, sky is falling, or whatever event, Los Angeles is, on fire, things are crazy. You look down and you're like, whoa, like $475 for that car.
Correct.
Or, oh, that $50K car reserve bid to like $72,500. You're like, whoa,
Totally.
like who was that guy?
Totally.
So I think there's just, it's very, I don't know. I'm looking down at a mid-year 911 bid to $73,000, and you're just like, wow.
Is that the blue car?
People are still rocking and rolling. No, that's a black cab.
There was a good blue long hood today.
Yeah, and some of that speaks to Alex. You were sharing some numbers with me of our new registered users in 2024, and still crazy amounts of kind of new blood coming into the community, which is amazing.
Well over 200,000 new users signed up.
Talk to me about
in
this
2024.
2014 BMW M5 sold for $23,000.
That's the V10.
That's a lot of cars.
This is our future pod subject of affordable late model sports cars. Yeah, man.
That car, I don't know what that car does in the quarter, but that's a fast car.
500 horsepower, I think.
Unbelievable.
And there's
twin turbo 4.4.
Some of them are 6-speeds. Somebody offered me many years ago, like one for like $13,000. And I was like, I'm too scared of that.
Oh my gosh.
14 M5s, 2018 S550s. I mean, you want to talk cars you can buy for under $25,000 that were all $180,000 new. It's a long list.
Totally.
Sorry, I cut in on your 2024 recap.
I know, I'm trying to be real serious.
When I see crazy results like that, I love being like, what is happening?
Well, not to put you on the spot, but do you have other highlights from the year that seemed crazy to you? The one I was thinking about, I've already talked about this on the pod before, but that Rolling Bones 32 Ford, I can't stop thinking about it still. And that car, that's definitely our hot rod record, $250,000 or something like that. Loved that car. Was looking at it again today. That's still my highlight of 24.
You still go back to it? I love that.
That's maybe my favorite car we've ever listed.
You search a term, you go Rolling Bones to find that car, or is it in some is it in some watch list where you can get to the link?
I just type in Rolling Bones.
He just types in Bones. It comes up.
Bones. It may be I wonder if you type that in, how many come up to that? That's like power users have like search shortcuts like that. That's a whole podcast episode too.
Correct.
Like, how do you get where you're going?
Oh man, I navigate BAT like an artist. Howard,
artiste.
What about you? Any big highlights from 24 individual listings?
Yes. Honestly, when I think back to like kind of overarching themes for 24, I just think of like us really maturing as a business, both internally with our staff and organization and processes, and kind of externally with our kind of leadership position and our place in the market. I think that's one reason why we're really excited for Europe. Europe feels new and challenging and entrepreneurial, and it's going to be difficult and a worthwhile challenge to break into that market and, do half as well there as we've done on the other side of the pond. So we're excited for that. But in answer to your actual question, yes, many. If I asked you, Alex, how many Bugatti Chirons we listed in 2024, what would you say?
Ooh, I got a number.
It was more than I thought.
I think it would be 5.
Oh, nice. Okay,
I was going to say 4.
I thought it was 2. It was actually 4. We sold 2 of them.
Nice.
Our number 1 and 2 results were both Chirons. I know that. That's part of my notes here. 1 and 2. They're both. One was like 3.5, and one was over 4. I think. Right, Mill.
Another observation I had an item that I feel burst onto the scene in 24 that did not really exist previously were these 1-to-1 scale Formula One display models.
What is up with these? Wait, we got some that are half scale.
We got half
some
scale.
that are 1-to-1
we got
scale.
Full scale, but I feel like we've listed like 40 of those things this year. I don't really recall them like being a thing before that. So that's been interesting.
Do we know what they're for? They must be for display purposes. You're a sponsor of a Formula One team or something and you want something to show for it, right?
Yeah, they'll put them at an event, or they'll put them. There's one. I don't know whether
people
it's real
must
or
mount
not.
them on the wall.
At Ferrari, there's one on the wall.
Yes, totally.
Yeah. I don't know, but I heard of that one going to South America. Do you hear that one, right? The Alfa Romeo one went to South America.
We had 2 big dollar ones, the Alpha and I think Lewis Hamilton thing that were, 170, 180 grand. I didn't hear it was going.
Amazing.
Car went to like Peru.
We listed almost 3,000 parts this year, which are like parts and memorabilia in which these kinds of things are included.
Including 2 4-cam motors for you, Alex, both sold.
That's correct. Love seeing the Fuhrmanns, love seeing them sell even more.
We had our most expensive motorcycle ever sold in BAT history this year, which was an Indian 1930.
It was the 4.
Indian. Mm-hmm.
What's the number on that?
205.
I believe. 205. We had two because we had another one that also sold really strong. We had one family. They were both kind of unrestored. One family owned, and then another one. I think that might have been 911R, the one that went for 200.
First bike over 200. We listed MJ's 850i. That was early. I think that was like
very
Jan
popular.
24.
That was the number one most popular listing this year.
How many views on that?
150 or 160K, something like that.
150,000 views.
Yeah, here, let me pull it up. It was a tremendous amount. E31.
That's on the all-time list.
6B. It was a manual, right?
No, I was telling to Alex, I searched by results most popular, and like the first 35 or 40 are all pre-24. Like all of our big, most popular, I guess, measured by views,
21 and 22
are all 19 to 22.
Yeah. There was some big heat back in those days.
Yeah, that's correct. 128,000 on the views on the Michael Jordan.
128,000.
215 comments. Sold really well. 110 grand. That's probably the most ever for a not CSI E31.
Possibly. We got an Alpina one selling this week. That one will also technically a non-M. That one will get some dough.
Dude, Jordan was so sick, man. I mean, like the Schnitzer body parts on this and stuff. Like, what's the documentary where it's like, you know, when they were three-peating, everyone was watching Last Dance. I was watching that, and there's just a clip of him pulling up to practice every day. And this is like 96. He had a C5 Corvette. Must have been pre-production or something in 95 or 96. He probably had the first one.
Yeah, 993 twin turbo, didn't he?
993 twin turbo. He rolls up in, I want to say he rolls up in a 456 Ferrari. Maybe he has a C4 ZR1 that he rolls up in. And it's wild because you had to be able to drive a stick back then. Now, if you're an athlete or somebody famous, you can drive, everything's an automatic.
What are they driving?
Everything was a stick back then, including his E31. I have a question for you, Howard. This is probably not too hard. I have a couple of them. Randy already saw these, so he can't cheat. What do you think the top 5 most sold makes and models are?
Makes and models.
No, I didn't look at this list. I looked at the year list.
I mean, you guys are going to know what the number one make and model is.
Well, make is Porsche, right?
Yes, correct. And model is, it's a Porsche. I'll give you a hint.
I mean, we'd assume 911 is number one. Correct. Number 1 through 3.
It is number
Are you
one.
breaking it down by era, or you're just saying 911
just
overall?
911 in
okay,
general.
that's clearly clearly.
Do you know what number 2 is?
Is it
That's a more nuanced question.
Totally.
number 2 make and model?
Just do model, individual model.
Is it a Corvette?
It is.
Ooh.
That's correct.
Okay, I thought
would
that
not
had a good
have guessed
chance.
that.
Anybody want to try for number 3?
Wait, but which Corvette? Is it C8?
Just all Corvettes.
C7?
All Corvettes.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah. Wrong.
Vet. There you go. I'm ready.
911
So
number
911,
1.
Vet, Benz.
It's not a Benz.
Not a Benz.
No Benz in the top 5.
Oh, wow. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, the one reason Vet, I mean, any model that's been around for 50 plus years is a shoe-in for
that
it.
helps. That helps.
So that's why Vet was a good guess.
Think of other long-termers.
I mean, is Mustang top 5?
It's number 3. Look at Howard. He's the head of auctions, man.
Come on. S281 Celine's. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Also on the list of affordable classics.
BMW 3 Series is number 4.
Okay.
And Toyota Land Cruiser
There you
is
go.
number 5,
I
which
love
I thought you would
website.
like.
I love
Randy.
this
I know,
website.
totally.
Oh, number 9 is GMC Sierras. We didn't go top 10.
Totally.
So Mercedes makes top makes. The makes are Porsche, Chevy, Ford, Mercedes, BMW. In that
Then
order.
Ford Contour SVT is after that.
Do you think Toyota might be number 5? Totally. Look at Randy. There's your snow car.
SHO?
Reverse donuts.
Dude, that would be cool. No, I need
have
to
top
find
5
some more
years,
snow
too?
cars.
I do have top 5 years. It's really interesting.
This is the weirdo.
This is the one that blew my mind the
curveball.
most out of all the stats.
Can you open with just the oldest year that's in the top 5?
They're in a hold on, wait.
That ruins it.
They're in a row, or they're not in a row, but all 5 of them are sequential.
They're a sequential.
Wow. It's a sequential.
It's like a
Can you
royal
guess
flush.
what
It's a
decade?
royal flush.
Yeah, it's a royal flush.
Very interesting.
What decade?
But they're out of order.
They're out of order.
It's a royal flush that you dropped on the ground and picked back up.
Yes.
I mean, it's either 90s or 2000s.
It's 2000s.
Mm.
So number 1 was 06, number 2 is 04, number 3 is 07, number 4 is 08, and number 5 is 05.
That is the weirdest.
So it's
Very
04
interesting.
through 08 are our top 5 years. Isn't that fascinating?
What is that era, though?
It's the end of manuals, man. It's like my GT3 downstairs.
Oh.
Right? Like that's a really good era. We haven't done enough.
Do you guys own a car of that era, Howard?
End of the analog era.
Yes.
Do we own a
04
car?
to 08?
We've got an 07 base Cayman. which is nice.
That's right in there. You've got a GT3 that's right in there.
No traction control on that car, right? It's like it is kind of an end of an era.
It's a little new for me. My Audi's an 01. I'm almost there, but not quite.
You're close.
I'm not quite there.
You're close. If you need the RS4 that everyone likes, then you'd be right in there. The 0708 RS4.
Those are
the first legal one here in the US.
Yep.
Wow, I love that, Alex. That's a very fascinating stat.
You had what was your CLK Black? What year was that? That's like an 04 or something.
08.
Like that.
That was later,
Yeah, okay.
That would be a cool one to have.
That white one, that was a great car. Howard and I had friction on that one. I started editing it, and he was like, "You're editing too much of this draft."
We sold it right before they went crazy.
Yeah, totally. Right at the wrong time.
Right at the wrong time.
Right at the wrong time. 45,000 auctions for the year. 40,000 of them were cars. The rest were motos and parts. 219,000 users. $1.5 billion in sales.
40 were vehicles, four-wheeled vehicles.
4,000 were trucks and cars.
Okay.
40,000.
Nice little curation mix
We
there.
did what, 36,000 last year? So it's a big jump in total number
volume,
of auctions.
A huge jump in volume.
Yep, totally. And with roughly the same amount of staff. Shout out to our staff. They did such an amazing job this year. Most popular was MJ. Number 2. Okay, here's a phenomenon I wanted to ask you about, Howard. And Randy, you may have to choke back your throw up that comes into your mouth. Number 2 most popular thing.
After the MJ listing?
After the MJ, Cybertruck, one of our first Cybertrucks. That was a phenomenon that came and went.
Man,
that went in 24.
Those went so fast.
People were
they came and people were propping up new websites to try to sell them. And then came crashing down, and it's like 30 days later, nobody cared.
And remember, it was Elon's going to sue you and all this stuff, and none of that
ever happens.
Yeah.
None of that ever happens. All the guys hoarding their Porsche STs right now under threat.
People had to fan themselves. They were so hot and bothered when those came out.
Wait, this is a foundation model or whatever.
It's a cyber beast.
Yeah, and then we'll still sell those. I saw one in town. I saw one driving here today. Right,
I was at a dealership the other day, and I saw about 50 of them lined up. So
it's fascinating.
That was definitely a moment in time, a brief moment for about 6.5 weeks. And you also saw similar stuff with new Broncos and Bronco Raptors and
those had a longer shelf life,
were longer.
Though, right?
Those were longer.
It's a longer sort of buzz.
F-150 Lightnings, those were also a brief.
Those are pretty brief on DMT. They're still around and cool, but they're on lots.
They're canceling it, I think. Ford.
No, they scaled it back. I think they're going to keep it around, but they'll scale it back.
But yeah, the folks that won their Cybertruck for $175,000, that's tough.
They're all wrapped now too, so something must happen.
A lot
with the
of them are wrapped. Yeah.
Hard to keep it clean. It's like your refrigerator. It's tough.
I think there may be one live though, right? I mean, they're still trickling through, and people. Sure. I mean, we would sell those, and they're an interesting vehicle, but we'll see what the future holds for them.
What sites were they propping up?
You want to name names?
I mean, there's other auctions that were basically betting the farm on Cybertruck flippage.
I'm asking a question I already know the answer to.
But that was a rhetorical question.
Yeah. They're out there. If you look around.
You don't have to search very far.
Auctionmycybertruck.com.
Totally
you don't visit that? I've got that bookmarked.
That's definitely a registered URL. Third most popular was a new Countach. We listed a couple of those. The Aventador Countach.
Yes,
right?
We sold one.
Yes, that was our the one that.
Did we sell one of the gold ones, or did the gold ones go over?
And the other ones bid to basically what that, and the people just couldn't bear to
people
let them
wouldn't
go.
take it.
Correct.
Yeah.
They should have.
We listed 3, or we listed more than 3?
3, I think.
Those things, I'm actually okay with those. I don't like the price, but I'm okay with the vehicle.
Number 4 most popular was one of the Chirons, and number 5 was one of the new 935s, the retro 935s, the GT2 turbo things.
Which we sold one of.
We sold multiple of those. Yeah, for sure.
I think we listed the same car twice, but yes.
Well, one was bare carbon and one was had the
livery. There were 2? Okay, there were 2. Yeah. There were 2.
One had the really wild photos.
Yes,
the one
where
this
they
year
shut downtown.
It looked like Ken Block's Vegas run. You know what I mean?
Somehow they got empty Times Square. It's like
Times Square. It wasn't Vegas. Yes, it was Times Square. The photos on that were super crazy. I didn't know what the deal was.
We have our annual awards going right now, and I don't know if that's been nominated, but it should.
That should be nominated for photos for sure. Or maybe they did a vid.
Oh, this was FAF, the one that the all bare carbon one that was the 5th most popular was a FAF car.
There you go.
We also did manage to sell a 959 in 24, and I mentioned that because we have a really awesome one presently live.
I looked at that today.
Which is very, very awesome.
959s are awesome.
DJM Investments selling it out of SoCal, silver with the striped interior. That's a very, very cool car with a California BAR sticker.
Yes. And a very, very low, 13,000 kilometers. It was very low mileage.
That's trouble. That means the price goes through the roof.
Yes.
But that's, man, I looked at that listing. Great listing, great photos.
Silver is your color on those two.
I think so. I mean, I liked white. I painted my scale model white as a kid, but silver's pretty hard to deny.
As of the time of this recording, it's already at 1.1 mil.
Get out of town. I saw it at $100,000 this morning.
8 days left, 1.0959.
I love that we posted the 03 40K receipt for the EPA federalization work.
That was interesting.
That made me happy.
Yeah,
That's
that was
amazing.
wild. I hadn't heard of that firm. They sent it to Texas to do the federalization. I thought that was unusual. I hadn't heard of it.
Great stuff. Any other 2024 highlights you guys want to mention?
I'm scrolling through my watch list on the BAT app, as I always do, all the closed cars. I'm barely back through December, though. I've still got all my favorite stuff. I got to go like super deep to get earlier in the year. The Riva boat sale is still very mountaintop for me. But yeah, I'm consistent. A lot of 356s on the list. A few Astons.
We know what Randy likes. Mustangs, I'm sure.
Yeah, anyway, lots of stuff.
Howard, what do we want to do for 25? What's the goal?
Well, I was going to answer your previous question and say I was a little disappointed to see interest in a lot of the 50 stuff kind of increase. And I speak from a personal stance there, given that I love and have some of those cars. But it's interesting to me that, stuff like Giuliettas and Healey's and Lancias are maybe not skyrocketing up. Meanwhile, C2 and C3 vets seem to have this renewed enthusiasm and price trend. So I don't know if that's existing buyers and enthusiasts or newcomers, probably a mix of both, that think an awesome big block C3 vet is cool, which I do.
Cross-generational interest, maybe. Like a lot of our colleagues who are roughly our age have interest in muscle cars and Corvettes and stuff, but you don't hear too many of them getting fired up on.
Man, Giuliettas are a deal. Giuliettas are a deal. There's
356 Bs and
selling
Giuliettas
under $50,000 for spiders.
I know.
There's crazy stuff.
I know.
I'm like, wow, this is back to some older sort of pricing curves. But then, I look at 63 split window vets. I'm like, I kind of want to get back into that game.
It's going up.
I really love that. And I was like, whoa, that car sells for $225,000. And I'm like, what are we talking about? Yeah. So it's interesting to kind of stand at the air traffic control board and watch what's moving around. You guys really have your finger on the pulse of it.
Some 50 cars are still, we had a couple of great Gullwing and 300 SL Roadster results this year. In our top 5, I can't remember what number it was a Gullwing, the Rudge Wheel Silver Arrow
There was
car.
a Rudge Wheel Gull, which was
1.9 or 1.8 or something.
That was really, really nice.
So there's some 50s cars that are still, you and I were talking at lunch today, Howard, there's some cars that are like a must-have regardless of the era for serious collectors, and that's still on that list.
No, and it's awesome, and I feel very fortunate to be in the position where many years ago for some of these cars, it was like, should I list it with you guys? And now it's like, how quickly can you list it? Which is amazing. We want to keep that up.
Yep, absolutely. That's a big goal of mine in 2025. We really shaved down wait times and made sure people got their listings turned around as fast as possible in 24. And we've maintained that all year. And so definitely want to maintain that through 25. People feel good about that. Our folks on that call today were talking about that, Randy.
Folks on that call, you guys were on with a whole bunch of BAT sellers, right? I love your guys' job. I wish I would get the invite to some of these calls. I want to dive bomb in. Because you guys round up, what is this? A bunch of power sellers or dealers or different folks and talk to them about the ethos of BAT and how to do it.
We pull back the curtain a little bit and we're like, hey, sometimes we want to make our working relationship with you as good as possible. And really what we want in the end is them to provide us with as much thorough, rich, honest information as they can about their cars so that we can create awesome listings and help, buyers get as informed as they can. And so we do everything digitally, as a lot of listeners probably know, and we don't do a tremendous amount of that face to face. So we've been doing these calls where we talk to repeat sellers and kind of pull back the curtain a little bit. Hey, here's what it looks like when you submit information to us. Here's what a listing looks like. Here's what we see on our end. Here's how you can help us help you make things go fast. And here's how you can help you and your organization get the best price for your car. So it's been really fun. And Howard and I, shout out to Ryan Huber and his folks for putting that all together. But Howard and I have been joining some of those. Howard's joined a lot of them, and it's really fun.
How many people on a call like that?
Today there were 5 or 6 sellers, probably something like that. Some folks that we've known forever.
But you do this every week. You do this a lot, right? Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little personal touch goes a long way, and it's been a great touch point for these guys. And we have a little presentation that's kind of the meat of it, but then we have a little Q&A afterwards, which has always been. I've done maybe 10 of these now. Super rich discussion, a lot of questions, and a lot of these folks have sold hundreds of cars and been around for years and years, and they got a lot to say, and they got a lot of thoughts. So
craziest location on the call today. Wichita, Kansas. Where?
El
Paso,
the guy
Texas.
who was like a dealer in both New Hampshire and Belgium. That was the most interesting one.
That's
right?
a multinational.
Totally. Dealer in 2 different continents who's been selling for years. He just sold, I said that mentioned that March Chevy IMSA car.
That's cool.
It was a sick car. Anyway, really fun. The thing that was heartening for me, Randy, was just the enthusiasm. These sellers are just still so excited about BAT, and that makes me feel so good.
Yep.
You know?
I love that.
Any goals for you for 2025, Randy? Any big, broad ones? We're going to list 80,000 cars? What's the goal?
Who knows numbers wise, right? I mean, I just like watching some of these evolutions and trends, like what you're talking about 50s cars, what you're talking about most popular cars in the 2000s being a little bit more modern. I mean, my overarching goal is to take honest, transparent transactions like to the masses and let people transact this sort of way with special cars. And I think we're getting more and more people so that they can do that. We really need to spread the word that it's fast now. Yes. I think it's kind of like when people are just operating. Howard, this is basically your entire time here at BAT. I was going to joke about people operating with data that's 3 years old. That's basically what you have to deal with on a daily basis of people thinking their car is worth what it was 3 years ago. But when I say that, I'm more thinking people thinking of BAT, like we're pretty honest, 2021, 2022, like the growth was so fast that it took a month or a month and a half to get your car on BAT. Now it's like if you have all the information, it's on BAT in like
or 2,
1 to 6 days. I mean, it's like super fast. And so a lot of people are operating with old information. So we're not super adept at like tooting our own horn about like, look at us, this is us in advertising and stuff. We can just kind of, let the product speak for itself. But people are operating on old information and need to know that in 2025, like it's rapid to get your car on BAT. So that's one of my goals, to make sure that just perception matches reality, where sometimes it doesn't.
We need to trot you out in front of more people, Randy. You're media shy. I know.
I'll be the car wash guy on the corner with the panda suit and the sign saying like 3 days to get your car on BAT. That's what I went to college for. I'm ready for that job.
Your dad will be so proud.
I'm ready for that job. Yeah.
Subway guy twirling the sign on the corner.
Total Subway guy. Yep. No, I can do that job. That's what we're doing at Rétromobile. You asked what we're doing at Rétromobile. I'm walking around with an arrow,
a T-shirt. In French, multiple
that
translations.
Says ugly American.
Oh, that's great.
No, and as it relates to Europe, that feels like a real unconquered territory, both in business and cars to transact, but also what Randy's talking about, kind of the BAT cultural ethos that we hope to get people on board with there. And that's obviously a multi-year project, but
absolutely,
we're excited to kick that off really meaningfully in 25.
I'm very excited about it. Randy. People think differently about selling cars there, and it took quite a few years for the BAT ethos to sink in here. So there's a challenge akin to that in Europe.
Absolutely, people buy cars like crazy over there, right? Because buying on BATs we've made pretty darn easy.
Yeah.
But selling your car takes some interaction, takes some patience, takes an approach, takes some infrastructure of photos and different sorts of things. Excited to potentially, after you guys heard this, roll out the ability to have pro photos taken in areas over there in the UK to start that sort of thing. I think just sort of introducing things that aren't currently there for sellers to kind of get that this is the way to do it is exciting. And it will be, building the fortress one brick at a time. But we're doing
it all over again. We've done it before. We can do it again.
Yep.
Plus, we know what we're doing now. Thank God. Anything else before we close out? I'm heartened by this discussion. I had a 2024. It was a wild year, but I'm really excited about 25 because I've teed up a lot of interesting stuff. Any other parting shots on the last year?
I mean, we were kicking around Road America for later in the summer. Probably too early to tease that, but I did go over.
No, we're going to be there. You can tease it. We're definitely going to be there.
If I get to drive a car at the event, I was using my brother's iRacing simulator this weekend.
Getting some laps in.
I want to come over and borrow that. Where's that going to be located? I want to drive
out where the track goes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Randy, you need to get a few laps in, get some practice in.
That's right. I'm trying to orient my calendar around that event too. We're announcing more and more events. People, we should plug, checking out the BAT calendar and signing up for updates and announcements. I'm looking around our podcast room here at all the alumni gathering posters that we have from over the years. And this year we're starting with Arizona, and then we're obviously all going to France, but then Feb and March, I got some new info for you guys about March.
Okay, good.
So good. Anyway, there's going to be more BAT get-togethers. I think the in-person stuff, as you guys know, I'm a big proponent of that. And it's really fun to get out there and high-five some folks and see some actual cars and do some things in the flesh, in the metal, instead of just on your phone. So we hope everybody will sign up for those alerts and come out and see some. I had a lot of fun. I mean, 2024 in review. I had a lot of fun at Pittsburgh, at the Pittsburgh event.
Yeah,
I had a lot of fun at the Monterey event. I went to a bunch of events this last year, and we had some good ones.
Oh man, we closed it out in New York, and that was amazing.
That was the New York one. I forgot to mention.
Yeah, there was a lot of great stuff. And there's going to be a lot of great stuff this year. Well, thanks, gents, for doing this, and thank you all for listening. As always, we'd love to hear from you. Podcast@bringatrailer.com is how you can get a hold of us. We will catch you next time.